Welcome back to another edition of the Witsup Weekly Grind. Thank you very much for joining in. Please let me know if you can hear me a-okay. Just leave a comment in the comment section, clearly. Let me know. Also, if you're listening or watching on Facebook or YouTube, I would love to know. We are playing around with a few different things lately, and we really appreciate your feedback. How are you doing? Did you catch up with all of the racing that happened across the globe? And I mean across the globe. It felt like there was quite a few things happening over the weekend. Obviously, we had Challenge Miami, which was a big event in terms of the caliber of women racing, but also the live streaming out at the race course as well. I'm not seeing any comments come in just yet, so please make sure you leave me a comment. We also had the Mooloolaba Triathlon here in Australia in Queensland, which was super exciting, and 70.3 Dubai, which saw the return of the Angry Bird, Daniela Ryf, on the start line for the first time in 18 months, I think it was. I think it was 18 months. And she certainly showed that off-season? COVID/off-season has been going okay for her. Adam has just said that Facebook is all okay in terms of hearing me and all running okay. Fantastic. Let me know if anyone is watching on YouTube. I would love to know if you are watching on YouTube. I'm just going to bring this up on my phone, which is annoying that it always comes up with the sound. Okay, so did you watch Challenge Miami live? Did you watch the live coverage? I'd love to get your thoughts. We had a few comments on our Instagram page. Most people, I think it's fair to say that most people loved it. We all just love watching any kind of live coverage, and it's fantastic. But there was, there were a few sort of issues here and there. But I mean, from my point of view, it's great. I love watching the live feed. I think the distance and the time of the race was really good. It's kind of like a neat little package pulled together in that amount of time, which is fantastic. There were a lot of comments around when the women were on the run and they had cut to the men's swim start, that there wasn't a split screen. So there was potentially action unfolding during the women's run, but it had crossed over to the men's swim start and the introduction to the men's swim start as well. For the record, really hard in terms of trying to make everyone happy, which obviously you never are going to make everyone happy. But in terms of trying to get that timing right can be really hard. I would have loved to have seen a split screen. And then if anything was actually unfolding, we could see that happening. Even if they weren't necessarily speaking about it, we could still see that happening. But generally speaking, you put Belinda Granger behind a microphone and we know that she knows what she's talking about, and with the help of Torsten Raddy with the stats, that really helps Belinda do her job even better than she already does. She knows her shit. She gives interesting insights based on what she's learnt over her career, which is really important. But also she's got really good relationships with I'd say the majority, if not all, of the athletes out there racing, being the pro athlete liaison for Challenge Family. She knows a lot about these athletes. So that provides another level of commentary as well. So overall, fantastic job out of Challenge Miami. But what I'd love to find out from you lot is, do you practice your transitions? We all spend a heap of time swimming, riding and running, but do you practice your transitions? And the reason I ask you this is, if you're watching closely, hey BG, love you. We will get it perfect in Daytona. I promise you all, mate. And that's why I want to be super, super clear. It was a fantastic job. And sometimes these things happen and, I just figure feedback's good. But the way that people give feedback, people need to pull their heads in, to be completely honest. I think you did a fantastic job. And Belinda, you're there to commentate, not to produce the show. But yeah, I hope that you take all that feedback on board. I know you will, but they're very, very lucky to have Belinda Granger behind the microphone in any kind of live commentary. Belinda, she's just tuning in more and just saying, oh my God, they're all terrible in T1 and T2. And as the mother of all athletes, the mother hen Belinda, how much were you shaking your head? It was terrible. And I mean that in the best way possible. It was absolutely terrible. The amount of mistakes that professional athletes were making on that course, it was... I think it's fair to say it was a bit of a shit show. It was entertaining though. Belinda's just said we need to do a compilation of all the transition blunders. Absolutely. It was anything from, we saw Lucy Charles Barclay basically take a nosedive as she hit T2, so came off the bike pretty much head first. I'm not too sure if it was because... she slammed the brakes on too quickly, just didn't gauge how quickly the dismount line was coming up, and you don't want to go over the dismount line because that is a penalty. Belinda just said I was laughing so hard, I had to keep putting my mic on mute. I would have been losing my shit as well. Especially, like, these are professional athletes, but it just goes to show Bill Abram, fantastic point. That is why they call it the fourth leg. But you've added a picture of a beer. So... is the beer the beer's the fifth leg, transition's the fourth leg? No, beer should be sixth leg, nutrition fifth, transition fourth, and then, well, going backwards, run, bike, swim. So we had Lucy Charles Barclay coming off her bike. People were dropping nutrition. Belinda, if you're still listening, there was one of the athletes, I think maybe Ben Canute, but don't quote me on that, who couldn't get his leg over the bike and kept kicking his nutrition or his drink bottle off the back of his bike. It was quite hilarious. And if you had have watched our top 5 predictions for 2021 video, did I or did I not say that athletes are going to have to ride in a straight line and not doing anything too tricky because they haven't been riding outside for such a long time? So I kind of predicted this. We nailed it. Belinda has just said yes. Oh, yes, and Ben Canute kept running over the cone, and there were comments coming up saying, can we get cone cam? So, Belinda, if you can have a chat to the Challenge North America team and see if they can get a cone cam for Daytona later in this week. Anyway, it was hilarious. I've just popped a poll up on screen. Let me know. Let's see who practices transitions. And it is very, very, it is very, very obvious that if a bunch of professional athletes can't get it right and they need to practice it, then perhaps if you're an age group of watching this, add that to your training, your 7-day plan, your weekly plan, transition practice. Very, very important. It could have changed the outcome for quite a few people. Oh, hello. Look who we've got here. Jodie Stimpson just joining in for a little chat. From what I understand, Jodie is at the airport on her way home. Jodie, if you're listening, at the risk of sounding a little bit condescending, couldn't be prouder of your performance on the weekend. I think you really proved that you are the people's champion out there, and I have used that term with other people before, but I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. We know that you raced with your heart on your sleeve, and it was very apparent, and especially when you came down that finishing line, the emotions were strong. And we do have a pre-recorded video interview with Jodie that I'm going to run in just a few moments. But Jodie, if you're listening, and she's just said that she's on the plane now, we couldn't be prouder of your performance out there. And I think it's safe to say your dad couldn't be prouder as well. Bill Abram had just said, I wish Fliss did more practice. Oh, so that's Felicity Abram's dad, I believe. Sorry if I've got that incorrect, Bill, but he's just chiming in and giving Felicity a bit of grief. Belinda Granger, best part was having Jodie's mum there as well. So special. Couldn't agree more. Really, really special win. And I think a sign, someone correct me if you think I'm wrong, but a sign that Jodie's going to have a big future in the half distance racing. And for those of you who don't know, She comes from short course racing, and it's been an up and down few years, and we're going to throw to an interview in just a few seconds, and you get to see a little bit more about Jodie and the emotions she had after that race. But yeah, Jodie, if you're still listening, just amazing work. Congratulations, mate. We love you. Okay, we're getting some results in. Make sure you answer the question in the poll. Do you practice transitions? Yes, no, or after Miami, I will. And I'm pretty sure I know what the answer's going to be. All right, Jodie, you get to watch yourself in an interview now. I'm going to throw to this interview that Sid did with Jodie not too long after her performance in Miami. In the meantime, as well, please make sure you leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts about the live coverage from Challenge Miami. Do you practice transitions? And I would love to hear what your favourite performance from the weekend was. There was a bit of racing across the globe, Dubai, Miami, and Mooloolaba. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what your oh, just got way too close to the microphone then. Oh, that didn't look good. I would love to get your thoughts on your favourite performance over the weekend. We're going to throw to a pre-recorded interview with Jodie Stimpson and Laura Siddall. Not Siddall, Siddall. Oh, hang on a second, folks. What's happening here?
Jodie Stimpson, congratulations on your win yesterday. It was, well, I was crying because you were crying at the finish line. That was an emotional finish, wasn't it, for you?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, it kind of, it really, the last lap of the run, I really hit home a little bit that, like, how Dad would have just loved that race and everything about it, where it was, and I mean, he would have loved Daytona, of course, but like, obviously, when we get in the win, he would have just loved it, and it's just nice for things to start to come together again. I know Dad's here with me, but yeah, he was emotional to say. Of course, like, I'm so happy, but emotional at the same time.
I mean, your dad's on your helmet,
yep,
isn't he?
You've got
on
my back.
On your back. So that's been good. And your mum was here watching.
Yeah, every race. They're my lucky charm, and they kind of always will be. And Dad still is.
Yeah. So you said, like, on the last lap, then it kind of came home to you. Did it come home because you kind of were in that, I think I'm going to win, or it was just all the emotion of what was happening the last few years and everything like that?
I think kind of everything, really. I think kind of all. I kind of tried not to let myself think about it until kind of that last kind of, and then I just couldn't, and then it just kind of all kind of hit home, and it was like, oh God, I'm actually going to win this.
I mean, and I think from what everyone's seen on social media, everyone's just saying everyone is so happy, very popular winner. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, at what point did it hit home that, like, oh gosh, I might actually win this?
Well, I went onto the run. First of all, I was like, every lap on the bike, I was like, just hold on for another lap, just hold on for another lap. And it was like that back straight, and even going like with the tailwind, I was home. I was like, I was okay until like 40k, last 20k, I was like, hold on for another lap. And then onto the run, I was like, I saw Lucy was in the penalty tent, then Paula, and I was like, and I passed them, and I took second, and I was like, oh, have I done this too
quickly?
Yeah, and I was like, are they gonna? And I was still expecting them to come back at me at some point, and then I did have Jodie Swallow's kind of message in my head. She was like, just have confidence in your run.
Yeah.
And that's just what I was thinking about then for all of the laps.
Yeah, keep 7 laps on it. I mean, we had our little Witsup chat going, and all the messages coming through, because I couldn't actually see you guys at that point, was just like, Jodie looks so good on the run. She looks awesome. She looks so controlled. She's like, was it just that confidence then you were able to use?
I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't feel it. I was like, oh, it's hot out here. Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily that I had confidence in the run. It was just that I've got to try.
Yeah.
and it's kind of finding my feet again. It's been so long since I felt that Jodie back, and that's the main bit yesterday. It was nice to have inklings of that back again, and to kind of be finding my feet again.
Well, I mean, we were saying it was, 5 years to the day that you last had a win in a race. I mean, you've had great results since then as well, and that was in Mooloolaba, I think, was that right?
Yeah.
So that must be a pretty special feeling, but also you've obviously transitioned up to the half distance now, and that's taken a bit of time. So yeah, talk us through that.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't think I've transitioned yet. I think I've got so much work to do. Like the way that I felt on the bike yesterday and felt throughout the day, like I know I've got loads of work to do to compete with these girls on all different courses, which is ultimately what I want to do. I want to be the athlete that is a swim bike runner across any course. So I know I've got a lot of work to do, but yeah, it's definitely been a process. Daytona, I just wasn't comfortable on the bike at all, and I think you could tell that. And I still struggle. I'm still struggling with putting what power I can do on a road bike onto the TT bike and holding that position. But yeah, it's a process that I'm excited about.
Yeah. So, what this year is pretty up in the air. You obviously made. I actually want to ask you, because I kind of half know the answer. The decision to come and race Miami, but then what's the rest of the year look like?
It's unknown, to be honest. It's kind of, I think it's still unknown just with COVID and that kind. But I need to race 70.3s. I need to learn my new craft. It's weird saying that when I started triathlon at 8, and it's like I need to learn the new craft at 32. But yeah, it's definitely racing some more 70.3s before St George, and yeah, racing and just getting used to this distance. I still will do some ITU races, but yeah, the focus is just kind of learning my craft.
And that was one of the reasons you wanted to come out to Miami, was like we don't know when the next race is that right?
Yeah, I was going to grab every opportunity. I mean, it's so early still, and I think everybody's in that boat of it's so early to be racing, and yeah, let's go and do an early race, and it's like, oh, another world champion.
And it was a tough course, yeah?
Oh,
and the conditions.
Yeah, well, I first did the bike course on Monday, and I think we had another 10 miles per hour wind, and I was like, this is going to be epic. But even yesterday, like the swim was like swimming on a treadmill at points, and the bike, still the wind was up, and I felt the wind more on the run. It was a battle, just to keep that turnover. It was a brutal, and the heat coming from 0 degrees then to coming from 26. I think, that was a bit of a shock.
As we're sat here in shorts and t-shirt in air conditioning, and you're about to head back to the UK and back to... Yeah.
I'm going to be loving the nice weather for the next 24 hours.
Now, you as winner and champion, you got one of these little helmets on. Well, you got a big helmet.
I got a massive helmet.
Is it a full driver's helmet?
It is, and it's been signed, and it's awesome.
And is that getting back in the luggage?
That's getting back. That's getting either my hand luggage or my mum's hand luggage. That is definitely coming back.
Well, congratulations again. Thank you very much for hanging around to do this chat, and we'll probably get you back on Witsup very, very soon. A very popular winner. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Jodie Stimpson, congratulations once again. Outstanding performance. I do want to bring up this comment again by Nick Mallet, and he gives... now, I'm going to mispronounce her name, so I do apologise. And Belinda, if you are still listening, I think you were nailing it during the feed, so let me know if I'm wrong. But Nick has said, Jodie's emotional win, obviously, but Sarah, I'm really sorry I have gotten that wrong. But her giving it to Lucy in the swim was fun to see. It would have been great to see her hold off for the podium. For those of you who don't know, in Lucy's post-race interview, she basically said, I'm not used to someone tapping on my toes. So it was fantastic to see someone up there giving her a swim for her money. Sarah Perez, but I don't think I'm saying Sarah correctly. Thank you, Sid. And then she got run down by Jackie Herring for third place. So she crossed the line in fourth. But I think that woman has got a future in the longer distance racing. So fantastic to see some newer names popping up on the circuit as well. Changing from short course to longer course and, having a crack at it as well. Now, folks, keep the comments coming. Keep the questions coming. We are now going to bring in Sid for the Sid Slam. Let's see if I can get her up on the screen. Sid, are you there? Crossing line to Sid.
I'm here.
How you doing, mate?
I find it really weird because I can't see myself on the Facebook thing. I'm just seeing you on Skype. And I was watching a minute on Facebook and I was like, oh, heck, I better close that down now so that it doesn't get like all whatever it is. I'm good. I'm tired.
Folks, it's going to be an interesting Sid Slam this week, I think, but Sid she's putting the Sid Slam on the line and she's going to have a crack at it, even though she's on minimal sleep and, fair to say, minimal preparation?
Yes, I have it's weird when you're actually at the race. I didn't see any of it. I have no idea what happened.
Yep. And this is why we need live racing, live feed, live coverage. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to catch up with Sid a little bit more afterwards, but let's get going with the Sid Slam. We're just going to roll the intro and then Sid, you are on. Here we go. Roll intro.
Okay, Sid Slam Spectacular prep has been very minimum as I've been in Miami all week. 3 big races, and let's start with Challenge Miami. What a big emotional win it was for triathlon favourite Jodie Stimpson. 5 years to the day since she last won. But Lucy Charles-Barkley led out the water, but as we said in that interview or heard before, it was Sarah Perez she had for company in her first long-distance triathlon. And it was Perez who actually was first onto the bike and onto T1. Chase pack of Fenella Langridge, Jodie Stimpson and Paula Findlay were next out the water. Perez led for most of the bike, gapping Lucy Charles-Barkley at times, but they never really got away from each other. Coming into T2, Lucy Charles-Barkley went a little bit over the handlebars, had to serve a 2-minute penalty for a previous offence, and which meant that at the start of the run, Stimpson and Findlay started the run just ahead of Lucy. But it was Lucy and Stimpson that then went side for side, chasing Perez down, exchanging the front into the wind until lap 4 when Stimpson pulled away and then went ahead of Perez. And that would take her to the title and basically, yes, had us all in tears. Lucy came in for second and Jackie Herring ran through the field from one of the chase packs behind to take the third spot. Check out the Facebook coverage because it was fantastic with Belinda Granger. I will give it. We were having dinner and a beer a minute ago, about 30 minutes ago. And also the NBC coverage, which is coming out in the next few days. I have no idea what the time is. 70.3 Dubai showed that 17 months of no racing doesn't seem to matter to Daniela Reef, who ran a 1:16 to take the win ahead of Imogen Simmons and Sarah Spanks. And in Mooloolaba, it was a win and a national Olympic distance title for Ashley Gentle over Jazz Hedgeland and Barbara Riveros, with Amelia Watkinson taking out the non-drafting elite category as well. Shout out to Courtney Agwig for the updates and all the interviews off the ground. It was a massive week in Miami. I'm totally smashed. I don't think that made any sense at all. I couldn't actually read my writing because I wrote it down about 10 minutes ago in a scroll. But that's it for Sid Slam from Miami.
Sid, it wasn't too bad. You did all right.
It was a bit of a shambles.
I could feel that, and I know what it's like when you're trying to talk really fast and there's this build-up of saliva in your cheeks. Was that happening? I felt like that was happening.
Yeah, it was, and I kind of want to just like do that spit out at the side, and I can't.
Oh goodness! Hey Sid, while we've got you here, and obviously you were at Miami and you're on the ground, and you couldn't necessarily watch all of the action because you were there doing a few hundred different roles. Let's be honest. But I wanted to ask you and I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize because
you haven't warned me about any of this.
We even caught up before this. I'm like, we're going to talk about ABC, but then things pop up in my head, and I'm like, oh, I might just throw that one Sid's way. The penalty that Lucy Charles Barclay got, from what I understand, it was for undertaking, so overtaking on the wrong side of the course. And I saw her actually post something about it as well, and she was going to protest, but then sort of looked at the footage and was like, "Yep, I broke the rules." Can I get a few insights from you and your thoughts on it as well?
Yes. I will say I haven't seen the footage. I don't know the full details of the penalty. I was involved in obviously trying to go through the lodging process with them after the race, and trying to work out what happened. So yes, as I understood it, it was from undertaking. We had a huge debate in the week leading up into the race about the rules specifically for this event. Because it wasn't just an oval lap like you would all have seen if you watched the coverage. It wasn't just an oval lap like Daytona. It had a road section which had left and right turns, which when you're car racing, you obviously just take the inside line, but you can't necessarily do that in triathlon because of then the overtaking and the risk of it. So through various discussions with like the officials, some of the athletes and challenge, we came up with it. It's like, we're just going to have to, for this race, to see it, because it's new, it's the first time it's done anything, we're going to have to stick to ride left, pass right, regardless. And we knew that there would be a couple of corners, I think there were 2 corners where that potentially might come into an issue, but it was discussed that it's the rider in front has the right of way, the rider behind has to anticipate if they're coming up to that part of the course, and if they're gaining on the person in front and they want to overtake, they have to anticipate that, and unfortunately they're going to have to slow down or time it as well as the wind. Now, I understand as well that the incident was with a lapped rider being involved as well, and that's another issue or another area that we're going to have to work with challenge, and they're fully aware of that. They get that as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, from what I understand and from the footage, and I think from what I've heard, I haven't read Lucy's post, it was a very well thought out post. It was kind of like, I've looked at the footage and I did make it. What I like about what Challenge are trying to do, and from that race as well, they know that it wasn't perfect, but they're trying to get the best rules that are relevant to the race course and it was kind of trying that rule, and whether it's the right rule going forward or not, or whether we start doing overtaking and left and right, that obviously has got further consequences as well. But I think it's just that evolve. I think we're going to see with the North American challenge races, and they're going to be on the NASCAR tracks, and they're all going to be very different. We're going to have some flexibility around what rules we put in place, and just the professionals are going to have to be professional to accept that and be a bit adaptable as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess my question to you is, and this goes with any triathlon across the globe, there are standard sets of rules. So say, for example, Triathlon Australia sanctions events, and they have a certain set of rules. And then per event, there's, certain things that, need to be incorporated. For example, like what happened here. So yes, you can go to your normal rule book and go with that, but there's always going to be a few exceptions that you need to be aware of. So my question to you is, are professional athletes, and I guess age group athletes to an extent, but we saw the professional race, are they made aware of these rules at the pro briefing? Is that where it happens? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a lot of chat leading into the race during the week, because there were a few rule changes that for various reasons, but then a few of us had a discussion in the last few days, and we put out the key points. So it went to 20-meter drafting. And I put these on a whiteboard in the hotel, so the athletes knew a couple of days before, but 20-meter drafting, 45 seconds to pass, ride left, pass right, and then just was like, the rest of the detail will be given in the pro briefing. And then that's when the rest of it's given and it's explained more. As anyone who's been to a pro briefing will know, they always still turn into some form of discussion and everyone has their own view and opinion. And it's at which point do you just have to, like, you need to take those views on board, but probably for going forward. And at this point, it's like shutting down. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is there's lots of, how do we know what 20 meters is and all this? And it's kind of like, guys, at the end of the day, you're a professional athlete. You should know what 12, 10, 20, 50 meters is, kind of thing. And if you don't, go out and now familiarize yourself with it. We're having races that are 20 meters.
Yep. I'm just getting a couple of comments from Pam Goodley, actually, over on YouTube, which is our first YouTube comment, which is fantastic. But she has just said Laura's explanation is really helpful, and I couldn't agree more, because it's really easy for people to be sitting back and watching the race unfold and make, comments which are, they're fair comments in terms of, well, how can that happen? But they don't understand the, all of the other mini decisions that have been made for that decision to come into an effect. And in my opinion, if you had have gone with, in this corner you pass left, and in this corner it would have been a freaking nightmare.
Well, especially with it coming in sort of maybe pretty late on in the day and pretty new to them. When the course as well, like there was quite, you might not have thought it, but there was quite a lot to think about. Or the other thing is if you, and now I've lost what I was, if you start then saying, well, you can just pass left or right. So on the road, on the oval outside, you ride left, you pass right, that's standard. But when you get to that inside bit, you can pass left or right. Well, if you think then you've got athletes passing left and right, plus lapped athletes that you're going past, to me, that's just like a recipe for disaster for a first time. And yeah, maybe down the road we can get used to that, and maybe that's the way we go. But it felt for this race, this is what we needed to do. And that was the consensus with talking with the race team here on the ground, who are really experienced in putting races on, and then USAT officials as well, and then just some of the athlete voices and stuff like that, trying to gauge that opinion.
Sure.
And now what I think is the good thing is going back to the athletes who actually raced and saying, what was it like? How was it? What were the good points? What were the bad things? What would you change? How would you do the race rules going forward?
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is what are we learning from this kind of racing that we can take into the next one. And even at the start, I don't know if you saw when we were just talking about the live coverage, there was a lot of chatter about not showing the women in a split screen while the men started, and Belinda was the first one to sort of pop up and say, yep, we'll get that right for the next one. So I think that's key. I saw a few comments as well, and I don't follow NASCAR. I'm not a racing car enthusiast, but in NASCAR racing, from what I understand, if there's a driver who's being lapped, they must go to the left, or to the inside, or what have you, which is fair. But then someone said, but one of the big differences is that cars have mirrors, so they can see what's happening behind them, whereas the second athletes sort of pop their head up and look back, it's A, dangerous, and B, not so aero.
So that's where, when you talk around going around the corner, you've got to have the rider at the front having the right of way, because they don't know what the people behind them are doing. So they've got to take that best line, and everyone else behind has to be able to adapt from that.
Absolutely.
So it was like, so I didn't actually see much of the bigger picture of the race. Sure. Because then when the women were kind of on the run, I was down with the male pros, that other race that was going on, and trying to get them into the water. But what I did see was just, and I don't know if it came up on the coverage, but I was stood in watching the women go through the middle section of the bike. And where we were stood, they were going into a headwind, and it just looked brutal. But it was great because they weren't going very fast. So you could go, oh, that's so-and-so, and you could give them a big cheer, and they could hear and everything like that. And then I walked over to like the home straight where the finish line was, and just seeing the difference in speed as these athletes just absolutely flew past was just, it was mental. So they had, it was pretty challenging. When you think about how it's a racetrack and it's lapped and it should be pretty straightforward, they had some really challenging conditions. Yeah. Oh, and and I will go, the other thing to talk, which I thought you were actually going to say about lapped riders, is a big discussion about, if you get lapped, you get lapped out. So that's like the ITU rule. and is that a way of managing it? But then that's not fair on those of us who aren't quite as good in the water but can ride and run our way through the field. But if, depending on the length of the lap, it's quite possible that people have completed a lap on the bike before some of us are coming out of the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've now found that I've got verbal diarrhea again.
That's all right. I don't know. What I find interesting is being an event director is a lot more challenging than what people, I think, necessarily give kudos for. There's so many things to think about, and then you add in live coverage as well. You know, personally, I do think that should have been thought of in terms of doing a split screen. But I can guarantee it won't happen again. You know, so yeah.
And I think one thing, I think the challenge team, like, that's the reason the women go first, to give them the coverage. And yes, there was that overlap, because then it's kind of they try and make a little bit of a difference with having us jumping from swim to run. And you know, I think the NASCAR team, and I'm sure Belinda will jump in, they're on such a fast curve of learning. And I think the coverage from Miami was already better than Daytona in what they're learning, and that explosive covering. I will say as well, the women had the number 1 bibs.
Yeah, and it's absolutely the number 1 bib and women going first. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
And let's be honest. You know, following the women, so we got to follow them from the get-go, from the swim start, the introduction to the swim, and then, you know, how's it fair to go, oh, well, we won't cover the men until, you know, the women have finished? Like, that's not fair either. So it's just trying to find that balance. But, yeah, overall, I'm going to say it was a job very well done. That is for sure. I do want to move on just quickly. Daniela Reef doesn't look like she's taken the foot off the gas at all. Did you say a 1:16 half marathon? Yeah, it's pretty tidy.
I think she's kind of probably we know she went back to studying, I think, whilst, you know, over the last year, took that time and just to recover a little bit from an injury as well. But it certainly looks like, I think she's probably been working on her run. I mean, she'd always got a strong run. She was always going to be one of the fastest, but just being pretty conservative. You know, there's always something up Brett Sutton's sleeve with his athletes and what they're working on. So I think her display out there showing that she's never really been away from racing. She can come and control the swim, control the bike, and then just put out a run and show which direction she's heading in.
Absolutely. And just for those who aren't aware, Sid does, well, all of our previews and wrap-ups, generally speaking. And she... Oh, sorry.
No, go on, carry on.
Yep. Generally speaking, we did have Jordan on the tools doing a few of the wrap-ups while Sid was busy in Miami, so thank you to Jordan.
Yes.
But in the lead-up to this weekend, there was the Mooloolaba Tri preview that went out that featured, you know, some big names in Australian racing, only to press publish and then find out that half of those, actually 2/3 of those big names that Sid mentioned, weren't racing, which is, it's really frustrating when not only, we didn't go from like a race start list that was given out 2 months ago, it was given it to us 2 days before the race, and it hadn't been updated. So, but what I just wanted to let people know that Emma Jeffcoat and Emma Jackson were mentioned in the preview. The main reason they didn't race, for those of you who don't know, is that there is a relay happening on Thursday, I think it is this week, on the Gold Coast that Triathlon Australia is organising, and the selectors are keeping an eye on that race because it looks like Triathlon Australia, and I'm making an assumption, but I think it's a very well-educated assumption, that Triathlon Australia are really focusing on the mixed team relay at the Olympics, and that's why those athletes and their team have decided to race and concentrate on the Gold Coast relay race and not Mooloolaba. Ash Gentle, already being a selected athlete, could do whatever the hell she wants, really. Yeah.
Just feet up for the year, isn't she?
Just chilling and baking. That's it.
Yeah.
Sid, before we let you go, fill us in quickly on the big announcement from the Laura Siddle camp last week. this amazing sponsorship ambassador program?
Do you know, it feels about 3 months ago, the way this last week's felt. It's super exciting. I got an opportunity through Parkours, who are my wheel sponsor. They came to me this year and said, hey, we want to give you a second set of wheels to give away however you want. Fenella Language did a giveaway a couple of months ago, and then I think there's a couple of athletes that come on the boys coming up. And for me, it was kind of a kick in the right direction. I've wanted to do something like this for a while. Haven't known how to go about it, how to set it up. So when they kind of offered the wheel set, it was the first step in me then getting other sponsors and partners on board to be able to then go out and look for a young female triathletes and support them for the year. So they get sort of kit and product, which is great. And then I will mentor and coach if they want, but I also don't want to distract from their team or coaching environment if they have something set up. Hopefully get some other support with nutritional advice and anything like that. We're hoping, depending obviously on who the athlete that is successful and what distance and age they're focused on, a race entry and cover some of that expenses and stuff. That's to be confirmed. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty daunted myself about it. Like that since we released it early in March, just before International Women's Day, like the feedback and everything and the coverage and the engagement's been overwhelming from all the media, and thank you to all the media people that pushed it out as well. Unfortunately, I'm talking probably to Australia, it is only for UK residents at the moment. My original plan was to do 3 of these, so like a UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, a US one, so in all the areas I've been, and then create a little group of those athletes that can connect together. I'm just first time, it's early days, and just thought this is the only opportunity and it was best just to focus it. So if you are over in another country around the world and you're keen, and I know some people have reached out, please keep in touch, keep supporting it and stuff. And I hope that if I can get more people and partners involved, it will grow from there.
Absolutely. And if you know of a young UK triathlete, point them in the direction of, well, any socials that Sid's on. Obviously, we popped the press release up on Witsup, so if you don't know where else to find it, you can just jump on Witsup and follow the links there. Anything else, Sid, that we've missed out?
Well, and also if on that, if you are a brand or a company that want to support the project as well, from that side of things, please get in touch. That would be much appreciated.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sid, go and crack another beer, have another pizza.
We're going to the beach tomorrow, I think.
Nice.
I'm taking Belinda. We're going to Miami because my Challenge Miami is a little bit like Western Sydney. It's kind of Sydney, but an hour away. Gotcha. So we feel like we're not really in Miami.
Yep.
So we might head to Will Smith and Miami tomorrow before my flight home back to Spain.
Yeah.
And before Belinda has to go and spend 2 weeks in a hotel.
Yeah, everyone's going to have to come up with new ways to entertain Belinda Granger while she's in hotel quarantine. Sid, thank you very much for all of your work. I hope you get to have a bit of downtime other than tomorrow morning, my time, when you've got to jump on another meeting with us.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, mate. We'll figure it out. Rest your peepers and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Sid. There you go, Sid, on the ground at Miami doing a stellar job. I can see her just still on Skype. I think she's tuned out now. Thank you very much for everything that you do within the sport. Before we move on to our next segment, which is so funny, I just got distracted by something that popped up on my phone, which is an Airbnb post. I'm organising my 40th birthday, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do. And so I've been looking on Airbnb. Anyways, I do digress. If you're watching, what are you doing right now while you're watching? Are you at work? Are you on the wind trainer? Are you meant to be looking after a small human, but you've got me in your ear? I'd love to know what you're doing while you watch this. Let's move on to our next segment. It's fast become a favourite here on the Witsup Weekly Grind. It is none other than Ask Our Jess.
Ask Our Jess.
All right, we are back for another episode of Ask Our Jess. Jess, are you ready?
I'm ready.
That's your first question today.
Oh,
You passed.
yes. That was an easy one.
Yeah. Next. Okay. Would you rather speak all languages or be able to speak to all animals?
Speak all languages. I'm not that bothered about speaking to animals. I mean, the occasional dog and that, but... Well, they would... Yeah, speak all languages. I can only speak one language, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I wish I was... I mean, I really struggle with English, so I'm not going to be able to speak any other language. So, yeah, definitely speak all languages.
Imagine if you started speaking to a dog and they'd be like, I don't even understand what you're saying. Are you speaking English? You're like, I'm not even good at that.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely wasted.
Who is or has been your triathlon idol?
I got asked this the other day, actually. No, sorry. No, I just thought it's quite good because I'm ready for it.
Good.
Helen Jenkins. She's just a little gem, isn't she? And she's such a nice person, really good triathlete. And then now she's popping out babies and then still being a good triathlete. So, yeah, definitely Helen Jenkins, no questions.
Okay, would you prefer to be a rock star or pop star or whatever music genre you choose, or a movie star?
That's quite a good question, you know. Probably rock, like Celine Dion, you know, like just absolutely belting out a tune. I'd
Rock
rather
star,
that, I
Celine
think.
Dion. Rock star.
Yeah, that's what I think of when you mention that. I do like to sing really loud in the car, so if I could do it well and to loads of people and get paid loads for it, then yeah, I'm doing that.
Perfect. Who is the most underrated triathlete on the circuit, in your opinion?
Ooh. Oh, God, that's a really good question. But it's really tight because then whoever I say, they're like, what, you think I'm underrated? Wow. I don't really know. Underrated. Do you know what? It's been that long I can't even think of who I race against now. Who are these people? Yeah.
Do you stack a dishwasher with the blades facing down or the handle facing down so the blade's facing up?
What? I don't even get the question.
So, this is a knife. This is the blade of the knife.
Oh, the blade of the knife. I thought you meant like the blades, you know, that spin. Yeah. Right, sorry. Yeah. A knife blade. Come on. Help me out. Yeah, a knife down. I'm not a psycho. Yeah, imagine if you had the knife up and then you forget about it the next day and then you go to put your hand in. Ah, no. That is an accident waiting to happen and I would do that.
All right, thank you very much for joining me for another episode of Ask Our Jess. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Sorry, bye.
Ask Our Jess.
Oh, she always makes me laugh. My goodness. I'm not a psycho. What did you think? Would you prefer to speak every language possible or have the ability to speak to animals? Jess seemed very, very certain. She didn't care about talking to dogs. Personally, I'd choose animals. I want to find out what animals are saying. Animals don't come with any prejudice or any ego. Well, yeah, probably cats have probably got a bit of an ego. Anyway, folks, that is us for another week of the Witsup Weekly Grind. If you're watching this after we've already posted this, you're not watching live, please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode, any feedback you've got, or anything else you'd love to see in the Witsup weekly grind. This was a long one, but we had lots to get through, which is kind of a nice feeling. If you haven't already signed up to our Witsup Weekly Word, which is our weekly newsletter, then just jump on the website or click the pinned comment in the feed here on Facebook and make sure that you get the Witsup Weekly Word in your inbox each week. It just always feels weird saying that, in your inbox. Make sure you do sign up to that. It's where we fill you in on all the different things happening across the globe, not just in the world of Witsup, not just in the world of triathlon, but in the world of women in sport in general. And finally, if you are not already a Witsup Patron member, please consider signing up. You're supporting what we do here, which is telling powerful narratives of women in sport, and it helps us continue to do so. Sid has just started typing and said, sorry, I got carried away talking just for something different. Take care. Hope you're all well. Grab yourself a coffee wherever you are in the world at the moment, and we will see you this time next week on the Witsup Weekly Grind. Take care, guys.